Welcome back to the channel. One of my most anticipated releases for the Switch has been Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. The fourth entry of the Fatal Frame series was one that was originally published by Nintendo exclusively in Japan for the Wii. So besides a massive fan translation patch by some passionate gamers, there's been no way to officially play it in other regions until now actually. Yes, that's correct. Koei Tecmo is releasing Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse for the Nintendo Switch and other consoles in a remastered version for English audiences and other regions. Now, over the last few days, I've been able to play the game and put it through its paces prior to its release date, thanks to Koei Tecmo. And of course, I have some thoughts and opinions about the remaster, as well as the changes in the release compared to the original version, and if I feel if it's worth getting or not. So let's just start from the top. Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is a survival horror experience that has you taking control of different characters while exploring dark and spooky environments, such as an abandoned sanatorium/hotel in various in-game chapters. The story of the game is set on Rogetsu Island, where the main character Ruka and two other survivors who were originally held captive on the island years ago returned to that very island to seek out the truth to why they were originally held captive. Of course, no surprise, they quickly find the island is pretty much abandoned, except for the spirits and spooks that haunt the place. Luckily, the characters who are exploring the island encounter the famed camera obscura, which not only lets them take photos, but also fend off spirits who will try to attack them and drain their life bar. Yes, by timing your photo snaps, you are able to deal damage to ghosts. The more you're able to lock in by lighting up the orbs in the camera view, the more damage you're able to deal to the ghosts. If you time the shot just as the spirit is attacking, you can pull off a risky but highly damaging Fatal Frame shot that allows you to deal massive damage to the spirits. The camera itself also works to take photographs of non-aggressive spirits to catalog, as well as to photograph cursed dolls that you must find in often very hidden locations in the environments. Between attacking and fending off damage from ghosts, as well as cataloging them via photos and finding the dolls, you'll score points that you can use to obtain items, as well as unlock costumes at various save points in your adventure. With all the secrets to find, and the goal of getting more points to unlock things, it's a game that you'll want to replay its chapters and the unlockable New Game Plus mode to find everything. It ends up being a pretty addicting experience because of that structure. Now, the remaster does bring some changes from the original release. First and foremost, the graphics have changed obviously, with much higher detailed models than before. The characters and spirits themselves look fantastic, as well as the environments, most of the time, at a distance with its visual effects. Now, what I mean with most of the time with the environments is that certain textures, mainly certain walls and doors and such, up close, are incredibly pixelated to a point that they seem to be almost out of the Wii version's texture files. The grain and film effects in-game do mask this to a degree, but even then, sometimes being up close to open doors and grab objects, you'll notice it standing out. While it didn't take away from the overall fun of the game, it did stick out to me that since the characters are so well detailed, seeing those obvious low-quality textures contrast with them was just a bit jarring at times. It just looks out of place. The game also has a different visual aesthetic style from the Wii version that could be seen as both an improvement and a downgrade, depending on one's tastes. Gone is the very dark, spooky look of the original game, and in is a very bluer and brighter look in the environments. It seems very much inspired by Koei Tecmo's work on the 5th entry remaster, which, while visually it's appealing, it also kinda makes the game less scary. For those who have played the original Wii version, you might have appreciated how dark it was to add to the spookiness. But yeah, everything is just brighter now. Again, this is just going to be a preference here, so I think opinion on the new aesthetic is going to vary from person to person. The game itself seems to mostly operate at 30 FPS, both in docked and handheld play, though at times there's a few hitches here and there. nothing that really impacts the fun of the game, but it is worth mentioning. This is also something that could be very much corrected with a day 1 patch too, so that might be a non-existent issue by the time you play the game. Now the other big change is the controls. Gone are the nunchuck and Wii remote control and motions, and in is a more modern controller setup. There's 2 control schemes, one being the classic style of past Fatal Frame games, and the other being a more action-oriented setup. These, for the most part, just adjust what the top of the buttons of the controller do in terms of their assignments. While the past motion control is gone, there are gyroscopic functions for the camera, which I highly advise you to turn on. These allow you to be much more precise and quicker with the camera than just using the control stick to move around. You can still use the control stick if enabled, but having gyroscopic movement feels so good in small movements, and it'll give you an edge in dealing damage and scoring points. The controls itself feel good for the most part, though at times getting around ghosts into a better spot when they are attacking can feel a little bit clunky, as the characters themselves are not that very fast. Now this might be a little bit controversial, but I feel this is a game that I advise most who are new to the series to start on easy mode first to get used to the gameplay, and then diving into a normal playthrough, and then onward as you get used to the gameplay. Speaking of difficulties, there are multiple ones, with easy, normal, and hard available from the start, and each of these difficulty settings not only affect how much damage is done to you, but also with the higher difficulties, affect how much items, such as healing items, are available to find in each chapter. Also new to the game, with the new control options, is the new snap mode that allows you to stop the game at any point and take photos of the environment or characters or whatnot. There's various filters and options to fiddle with, and while it might seem a little bit silly to include such a function in a horror game, I do like it as you're able to explore and appreciate the environment and the game design in ways that you couldn't do before. Aside from visuals and control changes, other noteworthy new stuff is the new unlockable costumes for the characters in-game, as well as some new DLC costume stuff that you can get too. If you have a save for Maiden of Black Water, then you'll also obtain an unlockable in-game item. Oh, and one more thing I do want to mention before moving on is the sound and ambience in this game. While there's not much music going on, the sound ambience of each area is spot on. It's very creepy and appropriate, and really adds to the tension while exploring. The sound design is fantastic. Now with all that out in the open, with what the game is about and the changes, let's get to the bottom of it all. Is the game worth getting? Absolutely, it is. The game has a very fun, addicting gameplay loop, exploring the spooky environments, discovering the spooky story within, finding secrets and upgrades, as well as the camera combat itself and the scoring system. It is just a fun game to play. Now, being scary can be fun, and this game can be scary at times, especially with the jump scares. But what it does right is making it easy to want to replay it over and over. Let's face it, survivor horror fans have seen and played those games where it's kind of one and done. There's no point in playing the game again after experiencing the scares the first time. What this game has going for it, and what the Fatal Frame series does right as a whole, is it makes you want to keep playing long after the jump scares have long passed on. I'm so happy that this game got a remaster so that a much bigger audience can enjoy it. Fatal Frame 4 was an excellent entry back then on the Wii, and the new remaster is a worthy game for your Switch, or whatever platform you decide to play it on. Some nitpicks aside with the visual choices, it's a fantastic experience, and one that I'm sure you want to play through multiple times. Anyway, that is my thoughts on Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. It comes out on the Switch and on other platforms on March 9th, and if you do decide to pick it up, I think you're in for a good time. If you found this review useful, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the latest Switch videos on the channel. Also, feel free to check out the other recent Nintendo Switch reviews that I've done. I'll leave some links to some to check out at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.